Hello everybody, welcome back to Mabea Loves Football. I'm back again, and today I want to address something. Of course, at the moment we have a new manager as a Chelsea fans. We understand that Mauricio Pochettino is now a new Chelsea manager. Now, of course, we need to support him as a manager, and we believe that he's going to bring success back at Chelsea. But I have something that I want to say. Of course, it's going to be an unpopular opinion to so many fans who have already bought in the idea of having Mauricio Pochettino as a Chelsea manager. But again, I would want to remind them of our glory days that we had back then. Before we've won titles, we've won trophies, and we've seen glory, of course, in the recent past years. In fact, as they say, the numbers don't lie. Chelsea have been a successful club for the last 20 years. Of course, they've won 19 trophies in 20 years. So that means that averages one trophy per year. So I think we can count that Chelsea has been a successful club for the last 20 years. But now I would want to jog back your memories, and so that we can discuss something about how it all started, especially when you started getting the glory. See, I want to talk about Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho is a manager that, of course, is the most successful manager in the history of our club, especially for the ones who started watching football, or the ones who have been associating themselves with Chelsea, especially from 2004 going to probably to date. We remember what Jose Mourinho did for Chelsea, especially when he came in for the first time. He was able to win two titles, especially back to back, 2004, 2005 season, 2005, 2006 season. He won Premier League back to back, something that probably had already been done by, I think, Alex Ferguson and Arsene Wenger. Those, I think, were the recent manager by that time who had done that. So we're going to talk about Jose Mourinho. And for me, when we parted with Graham Potter, I thought it was the right time for us to go back to Jose Mourinho ways, to go back to Mourinho, because if you ask me, I think Jose Mourinho is the only manager who has been able to successfully build projects which have been successful in winning the Premier League title. And if you want to understand how dominant a team is, or how good a team is a team that goes ahead and wins the Premier League, because it's you can be able to test a team for 38 games with that pressure of winning a game each and every time. So if a team successfully wins a Premier League, it tells you that that team is a formidable team, and is a team that can endure the pressure of winning so many games. I mean, enough games to make them champions of the Premier League. So as you see, the Man City has been dominating the Premier League for a very long time now, ever since Pep Guardiola came in. And even before Pep Guardiola came in, Man City had already won the Premier League. So that tells you that they have built a certain culture of winning the Premier League. So Chelsea, to be honest, they've not been competitive ever since I think 2017. Even though they've won some trophies, as we saw, they've won a Champions League after that. They've won, I think, an FA Cup with Conte. They've won a Champions League with Tuchel. They've won a Club World Cup, Super Cup. They've won some trophies, of course, but they've not been competitive, and that is the reality. They've not been to that standards that we had before. We were a dominant club. We could not go 2-3 seasons without winning a Premier League. So back then, so I want to take you back to 2004, 2005, when Jose Mourinho came in. And I'll dare say that Jose Mourinho is the only manager at Chelsea Football Club who has built projects which have been successful to go and win the Premier League. Now, let me take you back to 2004, 2005 seasons. When he came in, he brought in the likes of Didier Drogba. He brought in the likes of, I remember, of course, Didier Drogba open up the ways, the likes of who else? I think he brought in the likes of Ferreira, Paulo Ferreira, Cavallo, and so many players. He came in, he built a formidable team that was very competitive and came in and broke all the records. You remember the first season, I think they went and conceded only 15 goals in the whole season. You remember that time? He built a team, the likes of Peter Cech. He built a team that was so much competitive, that was able to dominate the Premier League for a very long time. So the first time you will see that it is Jose Mourinho who built a squad that was able to compete for a long time, that lived into the generations, and the likes of Ancelotti, the likes of Scolari, the likes of AVB picked up from a team that had characters. When you look at Terry, when you look, they speak highly of Jose Mourinho. When you look at Lampard, they speak highly of Jose Mourinho and the character that he was able to install in them. When you look at who else, I think when you look at Drogba, Terry, Lampard, Ashley Cole, the likes of John Obi Mikel, he brought in a young player at that time who had, I think, who was one of the second best player from World Cup that they played under 20. And I remember in that tournament, Messi was the best player. So John Obi Mikel was a very talented young player. He brought in the likes of, and you remember that time, the likes of John Obi Mikel were young players, but they were players with the strong mentality, their character. They were men at that time. They could not be compared with the likes of these young players that we have at the moment, who still don't, they seem not to be finding themselves. They are still not settled. So when you look at that, he built up a character of players, very good players, the likes of Essien, Jeremy Njita, very good players, especially from Africa. I remember the likes of Solomon Kalu. He was always very electric player when he comes in from the bench. Every time you would see the combination with him with Didier Drogba, Lampard, you could find him bailing out Chelsea for some games. So again, I remember we had Sean Wright Phillips, very young player, quick players who could always finish the business when they were needed to do it. It was a very competitive team. So, and that's what I'm saying. And the other thing that Jose has that I've always seen is he has certain character of building strikers, especially the front players, who are so clinical. They don't waste a lot of chances because, as they say, he likes defensive football. He likes to stop, especially the first thing that he does, he stops the opponent from accessing his goal. And that means he'll not have so much of the ball. And every time that he gets the ball, he makes sure that the connections of the players, especially going forward, are so efficient, so that every time they get a chance, they are able to score. So he's been he has some kind of quality that he's very good at working with the strikers. Remember, he brought in Drogba, who was very decisive in scoring so many goals. Sorry, helping the teams, especially at the finals. Remember the Wembley final against Manchester United, scoring a goal at the extra time. He was even called Mr. Wembley. So you remember, he built that team, he built that project that was able to dominate, and each and every season you could count on Chelsea to at least be in one final and win in that final. You could count on Chelsea to at least go back home with something, go back home with at least one trophy. He built that team, that generation of players, the likes of Drogba, Lampard, and everybody were from his, I think, his school. Let me talk of his class. Then, after that, you remember the success now of the likes of Ancelotti were because of the kind of players that we had back then, because of the character, the kind of player that Mourinho had chose. That is, you call Drogba, Lampard, of course, Anelka came in, gave the boost. Malouda, of course, as you say, as we always say, Malouda came in, was a very good winger. Just from the World Cup in 2006, he came in. And now, when he came in, Mourinho left. But Malouda was signed by Jose Mourinho. Again, he went. Then from there, Ancelotti was able to build a team that, of course, the spine of the team, especially at the back, of course, we had Terry, Cavallo, Ferreira, and Czech, of course, the spine of the team was some of the individuals that Mourinho had spotted. Terry, Czech. At the midfield, of course, we had the likes of Essien. We had the like of Balak at that moment. We had Essien, Obi Mikel, Balak. Up front, we had the likes of Lampard. We had the likes of Kalu at the moment. At that time, he was developing very well. He was very decisive. Maluda was there. I think the addition was I think Anelka who came in. A few players came in, yes, adding to the team that Mourinho had built. But the spine of the team was the team that Mourinho had built. Now that team took a Premier League in 2010 with Ancelotti. Of course, there was a lot of addition. Of course, we cannot wash out what Ancelotti did because they scored a lot of goals, and they were the first team at that point to score 100 plus goals. Remember that time? They scored 100 plus goals, so we can't take credit away from Ancelotti. He did well, and we congratulate him. But the spine of the team was what Jose Mourinho had built. Then after that, we didn't win a Premier League. It was not until he came back in 2013, 2014. That's when he also came back, and the first season, he stopped Liverpool from winning a Premier League, gave it to Manchester City by winning at Anfield. You remember that Gerrard slip? He's the one who stopped them from winning a Premier League. He brought in the likes of Willian, very good player, instrumental player who was very utility. At some point, he could be used as a right winger, sometimes as a left winger, sometimes as a 10. He was a very good player. He brought in the likes of Cuadrado, which didn't work out. In fact, at that time, Chelsea had a pull factor because of him. So many players came in, and that brought a lot of competition to the team. You know what that does? It boosts the quality of the team. Most of the players, quality players came in, but especially the likes of De Bruyne, the likes of Salah, as you all say, they are not top players. At that time, they were not able to get a chance because of the caliber of players that we had at the moment. At the moment, in the midfield especially, we had the likes of Lampard, Oscar, the likes of Juan Mata, who afterwards parted ways with Jose Mourinho, went to Manchester United because of the quality of the players that we had. And I remember very well, it was because of Oscar, that's why Mata left. And what Mourinho said at the moment, he said that as a number 10, he wanted someone who can score goals and someone who can also do some defensive work at Chelsea. So he made sure that he made sure that Mata left to Manchester United so that he can give a chance to Oscar. Now, he brought back, at that season, he didn't have a clear striker because Drogba had left. He had to look for, maybe I remember at that time we had Demba Ba, who was not prolific striker, not scoring so many goals at that time because he had some injury, and it didn't work out well at Chelsea, I remember. So he had to look for a striker. He went for Eto'o, who was coming to the end of his career, and didn't work out very well because Eto'o, of course, some games he could score, some games he could not. Could waste a lot of chances. We could create a lot of chances, but they were not able to score a lot of goals. So we had Eto'o, we had Torres, of course, who was a flop at Chelsea, but very decisive in some games that, especially the games that we won some trophies. And then he discovered that we needed a striker, a prolific striker. He now went and created another spine at Chelsea. Now, he went for a goalkeeper who was on loan at Atletico Madrid. That was Catois. He brought him back. Made sure there was a competition between him and Czech. Eventually, Czech left to Arsenal. But a season, he left after Chelsea winning the Premier League. He made sure that the competition between Czech and Catois. But when choosing who was supposed to be given a chance, he gave a chance to Catois. Now, he went again and brought someone back. A very important player, Nemanja Matic. And Nemanja Matic was very instrumental to our team that won the Premier League back-to-back, won the 2 Premier League titles. One with Jose Mourinho and another one with Conte. The partnership between him and Conte was very instrumental and helped Chelsea to win the Premier League. with Conte. They won the partnership between Nemanja Matic, Cesc Fabregas, and who else was at the midfield at that time? Of course, Fabregas and Matic in the midfield and Oscar up front was that partnership between Matic and Fabregas was very instrumental and helped us to win the Premier League. Up front, of course, he had Diego Costa, who was very instrumental in scoring goals. He scored 20 plus goals in Premier League. Remember, Costa at that season did not have a goal in Champions League because Jose Mourinho was managing him not to have an injury in especially in that campaign of the Premier League. So I believe all the projects which have been successful at Chelsea, it's because of they have been started by Jose Mourinho. They have been started by Jose Mourinho. When you look at the spine of the teams that won the Premier League with Chelsea, it's because of Jose Mourinho, who